everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
We're glad everybody's here to join us today for this fitness panel. And we have some great guests here for you today. I'm really excited about chatting with these guys. They have some cool things going on in regards to VR fitness. And, actually, I think we're going to even stop calling it that VR fitness. It's fitness. And so we need to start saying fitness and health and wellness, but we're using the tool of virtual reality. So, I was thinking about that earlier today. It's really one of those things where we can kind of move into that new realm now. But I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves first. I'll give a quick intro, and then we'll get started with our questions. So, Michael, could you go first, please?
Sure, thank you. So I'm Michael, developer of VRWorkout. It's a hand-tracking-based fitness app, which I developed for my own needs and developed an open source project out of it, so everybody can use it for, well, their own wellness or health or whatever suits you most.
Hey, I'm Robert. Should I be Rob or Robert? I'll be Rob. Yeah. So I based in the UK. Besides spending perhaps a little bit too much time playing Tetris, over the last year and a half or so, I've been founding Realfit VR, building this content for home exercise with all kinds of varied bodyweight training. And talk a bit more about that, I guess, within the panel.
I'm Robert. I work for VZFIT. So we have historically been a cycling app, and in the last years, we've been getting ready for our Oculus Store launch, actually incorporating a lot of full body motion and working the concept of our game into basically translating that motion through the world into full body motion. So a lot of the same stuff these guys are working on. Haven't got the hand tracking down yet, but maybe we can talk.
That's great. So I'm familiar with your apps and the different things that you guys are doing. With Robert, with VZFIT, you actually participated in the Fall Summit and had a really cool, I guess it was the adventure track that people could go on. Do you happen to know what the response was of your users to that? Like, did you have any stories about how it had maybe helped them to get involved with fitness or start a program that they're still continuing?
Yeah, so we actually, for us, community is a huge thing. If you're part of our Facebook group, you'll see that people are posting basically the rides that they're doing, and we've built into the game a way for you to take snapshots. So people will basically post the ride, and when they cross the finish line, they can take a snapshot, and they're tracking their progress. So a lot of the people who started that fitness summit last year participate in the winter games here too. We actually had a lot more participation this time around than last time. We cut it down to a fewer amount of rides. Last time we did about 7 rides, and it was about 600 miles, which is a little aggressive for some people in a month. So we did 3 rides, and we kind of released them staged this time. And it had the same appeal. People posted as they were finishing the rides each week where they were going. And, it almost turns into for us, it turns into like an Easter egg thing of what can you find while you're on the ride. People in Badwater during the fitness summit they found a Roadrunner. So Badwater is 300 miles in the desert. There's nothing to see. And they found one Roadrunner on the side of the road, and they took a picture of it. And then we did one in Montenegro, and that turned into what's the most interesting bathing suit you can find? So it's a fun way to kind of keep people motivated and also keep them riding. Several people rode it several times to find the best bathing suit, for example.
Yeah, that's really funny. I love that about the Roadrunner. I actually went out west several years back, and I was positively absolutely thrilled that I saw a real live Roadrunner at a national park.
They're a lot smaller than the cartoon.
Yeah, but it was no less thrilling, I'm telling you. It was right there at the national park, Petrified Forest. So it was great. One thing that I like about what you guys are doing is that you're taking more traditional fitness. People are used to more traditional fitness things like, squatting, burpees, sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, whatever, and bike riding, that sort of thing. And you're making it more enjoyable or interesting for them. So could you chat a little bit for your individual games about why that's important, and kind of how you're doing that in the best possible way. So Rob, would you go? Yeah, go ahead, Michael. Go first on that.
What you're pointing out is actually the main thing I'm usually talking about when someone asks about VR workout, because I want to make it clear it's a workout first and a game second. So there is usually in VR fitness you have those two approaches. Either you have a game that you try to make into a fitness experience, or you have a fitness experience that you try to make into a game. And I'm more a fan of the second one, because if you have a game, then you ultimately always have some in-game goals that you're trying to achieve, which supersede your fitness goals. So if you might make a movement that isn't really conducive to your health because you wanted to hit that enemy that didn't really fit what you wanted to do, and or you're trying to do something that's not primarily fitness focused. So what I and we all probably are doing is we're trying to make a home training device that helps you get as much motivation out of that boring home training as possible. So use the standard home training and make it more interesting, but not a full game. So that's the basic idea of my game, and I think Realfit is quite similar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the games were certainly the gateway for me to kind of discovering that VR was a great way to be able to exercise, playing rhythm games, getting a really good cardio workout. In my personal case, I actually ended up, overdoing it a little bit with some of those Expert Plus levels, and actually even strained my shoulder. Had to, go looking up physio routines to figure out about, learn about rotator cuffs and all these things. And that's part of actually, I suppose, why I was also sort of thinking about building VR content that would take a bit more responsibility for helping you exercise safely and effectively, but still having fun, but not necessarily conflicted with, as Michael was kind of putting it, like those game goals versus, you may be having your own personal fitness goals, and not necessarily prescribing that you've got to work at a certain pace. If you've got varied levels of fitness, we want to let you work out and exercise according to what you're capable of, and there's just a lot of variety to be had with some of these traditional exercises, which you don't currently see with the range of games out there that are obviously generally cardio focused and a lot about waving your arms around and perhaps a bit of squatting. So there's a few dimensions to I think the benefits of bringing in some of these traditional exercises into VR as well.
It's interesting because I think that's like the same concept where we're trying to stay away from being a game, like the game mechanics, but at the same time, we take the approach of we want the thing that VR does is it transports you, right? It takes you out of the place that you're in and kind of distracts you from the thing you're doing, which is why when you're playing Beat Saber, you hurt yourself because you just keep playing Beat Saber till you beat the level. So kind of taking that advantage of, we kind of believe that the best type of fitness is, when you go on a hike and you get fit because you're kind of walking around and doing something and you're enjoying yourself. And so that's how we use exploration, and then kind of, thinking of the concept of, well, what if you were squatting on your hike or doing those types of things and scaling those activities to something that's reasonable to do in a headset. You guys have done I was looking at some videos of some of the stuff you guys have done, and we have like doing push-ups things. I tried to do them. I think you guys move the screen a little bit. How are you guys doing that type of stuff? Because it seems super cool. But every time I try and do it, I fall down.
What do you mean? Do you mean the headset, that you have the headset on? Or that's actually something we've been thinking about a lot, because usually when you put that stuff out on Reddit, then the first thing you will get is, oh, it's bad for your neck and that can't work, and you will hit your headset on the floor, and everything under the sun that will happen to you or to your headset or to a space around you. But the thing is, we our whole sensory system is a feedback machine that works inherently, even if we have eyes closed. Because even if I'm doing push-ups with my eyes closed, I won't hit the floor because I simply know where I am. But to reduce the stress on your neck, because you would have to look to the front to see what's coming at you in this Beat Saber style game. We're actually putting a monitor in the floor. So, which is basically a virtual camera in the head that doesn't rotate, but it moves with your head. So you can see what's coming at you, and you will ultimately, to hit the stuff, have to look up, but you can reduce the time you have to look to the front quite a lot. And so you're simply in the push-up position, your headset is hanging down, so it doesn't really strain your neck too much, and it works quite well. And a lot of people use that. Yeah. I mean, it's optional because it can cause some nausea, but it works quite well.
Yeah, we had a slightly similar adaptation within Realfit for considering that you don't want to put the content that you're trying to focus on, right out in front of you as if it was like something like Beat Saber, where you'd be craning your neck up. And I don't know if you've maybe at least seen some of the trailers for Realfit where you've got this trainer avatar in front of you for giving some guidance. Well, in the more recent versions, that kind of scales down into something that is within your field of view while you're doing those sort of crouched position types of exercises like push-ups, so that you're not kind of craning your neck, which is obviously something that a real personal trainer can't do, that miniaturization on demand.
Not yet. Yeah, I think it's really interesting the technology solutions for, fitness is hard in general, right? Like you think of you go to a gym and try and learn to do all the moves in the first time, and it's incredibly difficult and overwhelming. And then now you're trying to figure out how do you present that in this virtual space that people are in. It's really interesting.
That actually that brings us perfectly to the next question, which is, why are people going to do this? Why are people going to use VR fitness at home? And, why are they going to use these tools? And I mean, I'll jump in and say right off with what you're saying, Robert. I do think it's difficult, not only difficult sometimes to go to gyms and learn how to use the equipment and all this, but a lot of people, and I'm one of these people, I don't like to look like I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't like to ask for help typically. So, if you have that personality, or maybe if you're already overweight, or especially excessively overweight, or if you're older, or sometimes if you're a female. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why people don't want to go into certain environments and try to learn to use the equipment or do certain things a certain way. Do you think that it's a benefit to us to have the options for fitness and VR at home so they don't maybe have some of those same challenges? Or do you think it's more challenging because they're having to use technology? What do you guys think about that?
So, I mean, I think it's a mix. We have a weird, because we haven't been on the store for a long time, and these guys are, they're on early access as well. So, getting people to hear about you is interesting. And so for us, we've always had about 30% of our users have never even used VR before. They just saw us as an exercise idea. And then, so, they're coming in, and our age range is, we have 80-year-old users who are putting a VR headset on for the first time and just trying to get a little bit of activity because their doctor said, hey, you need to find something. And I think that, for whatever reason that working out at home is more comfortable for you, working out at home has been a thing forever. It's one of the biggest fitness industries in the world. And, I think that having this option where it's more fun has become way more popular over the last couple of years. And I think that the Wii with Wii Fit kind of started that whole idea, and virtual reality is the next logical step for that type of thing. And honestly, with the wired headsets, it's daunting, but the Quest, you really just put it on, and they've done a really good job of introducing people to that. And, every once in a while we have to teach people what the Oculus button does, or when we refer to the Oculus button, they don't know. But that technology barrier is almost as simple as a cell phone at this point. So if you can play a video on YouTube to work out, you can put a headset on and probably have a much better time most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that for your app, it's a little bit, it's easy for people who have the bike and they can just hop on there. And that just sounds so enjoyable to me. I don't have an exercise bike, but man, if I had one, I would absolutely be using your app. I just think it's, wow, it looks really neat. But for the other two of you, I remember, especially when I was younger and would do just fitness routines at home, and it was so boring. And I think, why did I even do that? And my daughter does that now. And my recommendation to her, my youngest daughter, she's about to turn 18. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Hannah, you really need to put a headset on while you're doing that. And so for YouTube, Rob and Michael, how do you think that's going to change over time? Do you think it's appealing to people? Why is it more interesting to use your app versus just sitting there doing it the traditional way, like Robert said, with the YouTube video or something? Yeah, or we would say with the television, with Jane Fonda on the TV.
Yeah. I mean, everyone just finds different things motivating. But I mean, I essentially started building Realfit out of, a desire of myself to find a way to have a routine that I would get engaged with. And back in the day, I did enjoy VZFIT, which Robert mentioned, sort of did kickstart this kind of gamified home exercise sort of thing. I think that I'm losing my thread a little bit, but I've actually just lost my thread. So Michael, maybe you want to just jump in for a second. Yeah.
So I think that fitness in VR is actually, there are actually two different kinds of people, and they are not necessarily disjunct, but they may move from one area to the other. The first one is thinking about VR is now the key to their fitness that they never actually managed to stick to, which I basically am the guy. So I'm picking up everything. So I thought I was watching 1 year of YouTube videos, like all the kind of calisthenic stuff, and was always trying to get to stick to it and tried everything. And it works for a time, and then it gets boring, and then you leave it out 1 day, you leave it out 2 days, and then it's over. And then there are those people who are actually trying to say, okay, we want to do a new fitness thing, and can this help me in my fitness? So not they don't need motivation. They are already those people who are going to the gym, who are regularly exercising, and they are simply trying to figure out a way how to augment it and how to make it better. I think it's the most beneficial for the first part of people, because however boring it gets, you can always switch it up with something else. So now you figured out that FitXR is the thing you want to do for the rest of your life. In 2 months, you figure out that you can't see it anymore. Okay, then you switch to a different game. So now you're doing Superhot or whatever. And that's actually the thing that Aaron Stanton from the VR Health Institute is promoting quite heavily, that VR has this ability to change itself forever and stay interesting. So keep people motivated. For myself, I'm moved from the first space where it got me into exercise to actually trying to improve my exercise. And that's what VRWorkout is doing for me, because I want to do my workout quickly and intensely. So I don't want to be on Machu Picchu for 2 hours and hit balls coming at me. I'm starting at 11:30 p.m. and I want to be finished before the new day starts. So I'm doing the most intense thing I can do. I have my heart rate chart. I see how much I did, and I feel how much I did, and then I know, okay, now I'm done, and now I'm going to bed, and the stuff is over. So yeah, that's what's doing for me.
It's funny you said that about being able to switch it up, and people who have tried traditional forms of exercise or wellness programs and stuff, and maybe they just couldn't stick with it. And I was the same. I mean, I really did try different things. I'm always incredibly active anyway, but it's like, as far as actual exercise, it's just so boring to me. But the stuff we do in VR, when you're getting your heart rate up and you're moving physically, and I have to stretch before I do VR, because like Rob said, you will hurt something if you don't and you overdo it. And it's really fascinating. Like, I've been doing this almost 4 years now. Almost daily for 4 years I've exercised now because of VR. And so it's definitely a different kind of phenomenon, that you do become slightly addicted to it, as far as it being an enjoyable, pleasurable activity that you want to return to. And like you just said, if there's something that you kind of either get irritated, because I'm watching the chat, you get irritated because you're thinking, I'm just going to be stubborn today. I already did 11,000 squats and I'm not doing another one today. Whatever your reasoning is for wanting to switch it up a little bit, VR offers us that opportunity. So yeah, I'm watching them pick on you guys there. They're talking about how many squats. I think it's you, Rob, that maybe they had to do in real
fast. I don't know if you've seen that we've had this squat challenge going for the last month. And when we started that squat challenge, the only benchmark I had was that we had just done this SideQuest Fitness Week, where I took a look at the data and I was like, okay, we've done about 5,000 to 10,000 squats collectively. I wonder how many we'll manage to do. Just like yesterday, we managed to get past 100,000 squats.
Wow!
And there's like one person that's, I think probably by now today, they've crossed like 30,000 squats. Just one person. It's amazing. Mimixis.
Too many squats.
Yeah, it's a lot of squats, and I never imagined how many squats even I do myself. Because like when I started, I don't think I'd ever done more than 100 squats in one sort of session, so to speak. But yeah, now I've done like 1,000 squats a day in succession, which I never imagined to be doing. But yeah, that's been quite a result.
I'm sitting here envisioning Rob. Rob has these massive thighs, and Michael, he's been doing his push-ups. He says he's not even showing us his muscles because he's got like the chest going on. And Robert, he's just like riding away on his bike. He's chilling out. He's got like the mental wellness.
We do have people who play for a lot longer than 20 minutes. I think it's interesting though, because the different dynamics here is like, so when we started implementing body weight workouts, I brought my headset to the gym and worked with some coaches there, and you show them a VR headset and they just laugh at you. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then 30 minutes into them trying some movements and they're just like sweating and they're in a puddle of sweat, and they just, because there's no breaks built in really, like in real life. Like when I'm at the gym, I do my thing and then I stop and I breathe for a little while. But in the games, you're just kind of presented over and over and over again, and there's more pressure almost to just keep going. And so you can take it at your own pace. I mean, especially if you're doing 10,000 squats, but you still want to just get to the next step. You want to keep going, and it's interesting. I think so. We did. For the Winter Games, one of the YouTubers was like, I go to the gym every day. I'm going to try this thing. And halfway through, he's like, I'm exhausted. I can barely breathe. I'm like, well, it's just a different workout.
Yeah, you see these videos of skeptics being shown stuff like Thrill of the Fight, and they consider themselves, I'm fit. I don't expect this to really, do much for me. And then like 10 minutes later, they're like, oh my god, I can't do anything anymore, and they're completely wrecked. Yeah,
and it's funny. I don't think there's pressure, like you said, maybe pressure to keep going. We put it on ourselves. Some games actually encourage that as well, but I do think that developers are getting wiser, and I'd be interested in hearing what you guys are doing for this aspect of it. But the developers are getting wiser in terms of recognizing that exact issue, that man, people love doing stuff in VR. They love it. And you can literally stay in there for, 2 hours and somebody's telling you, time's up or whatever, or you look at your clock and you realize it's been 2.5 hours when you thought maybe it was, 20 minutes. And so it's one of those things where I think that it is important for safety reasons for developers to build in a little bit of tools. And one thing we've been talking about in some of the games that I'm involved with the communities are how do we encourage people to stretch before they play? For example, if you have real athletic games, how do you encourage slower, more warm-up activities and things before you get into the more involved things? So I'd like to kind of put that out there for you guys. What are you doing in your particular apps, or is it necessary in those apps for them to build up slowly? And do you have built-in breaks occasionally? So like, are there transitions where they actually have to slow down the cardio a little bit, or maybe move or stretch a different way before they move into the next activity? I'd love to hear what you have to say about that, because I think it's important, for us to be doing that and for other developers to hear if you are doing that and how.
Well, okay, I would start because I'm probably the one who does the least in this aspect, because the game is basically a high intensity interval training. So you do it and then you're finished. So you wouldn't, if you do a Tabata, you wouldn't break between and then start it up again, because you would just do it and then you would be done. But the stretching is basically, I mean, once I'm doing my stuff, I'm stretching about, and not stretching, but I'm actually doing all those warm-up motions. I'm trying to get my muscles warm. I'm trying to get my joints, especially the arm joints, because if you're doing push-ups and burpees in VR, then you are jumping and you are probably hitting the floor. You do hit it exactly like you would normally, but if there would be a little hiccup in the tracking, you should have the strength to actually catch that. I mean, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it could theoretically be a problem. What I'm doing is that when you start the game, you have this disclaimer, which you could say, okay, you have disclaimer, haha, what's that to do? But the thing is, if you don't read the disclaimer, then you won't get into the game, and that's actually per design, because you have to read the disclaimer until the end, and then it will tell you what to do to actually continue. So you don't have a button that you press, but it actually asks you to nod 5 times. So nodding, like saying yes with your head. And if you don't do that, then you will stay in the splash screen like forever. And I had a lot of people asking me, how do I enter the game? And I simply don't tell them, because that's, if you don't read it, if you don't read the instructions, then you're not going to play that game.
You're going to have to change it now. You just gave the secret.
Yeah. So within Realfit, we provide a set of predefined workouts that have rest periods in them, and they can also be designed so that at the start they'll do a few sort of warm-up exercises. The library of exercises we have is growing, but there's not as many stretches and warm-up exercises as there will be down the road. But we have, for instance, like a bubble pop exercise for just kind of getting you first moving, stretching a bit, and reaching to pop bubbles in a field. And then there's things like do a bit of jogging to just at least get your heart rate up a bit before you kind of get into some of the body weight training exercises. So we've got the typical disclaimer like Michael has. This is an application kind of made for adults, that you need to listen to your body, and you're responsible for taking some care and responsibility, but we want to provide you all the information we can and do the best that we can to provide you the guidance to help you avoid injury and do the exercises correctly. Over time, we'll be looking to add more and more kind of guidance on things like posture while you're doing squats, to help make sure that you don't do something that is more likely to hurt you. And yeah, there are lots of opportunities for us to give that kind of advice and guidance. And yeah, just generally trying to be considerate of the varied levels of fitness and mobilities of people. We want to be able to create exercises that as many people as possible will be able to use. We've got things in the work like seated exercises for those people that might not have enough mobility to be able to stand up and do squats, and we'd be looking to do more along those lines to sort of help make sure that everyone can safely access these kinds of exercises in VR.
Yeah, I think it's a balancing act, trying to figure out. Nobody wants to be told in their middle of the workout to take a break, right? If they're feeling good, they want to keep going. And so we do the same thing these guys do, where they've got, you choose a 15 to 20 minute workout, and but we've also given people the option of, hey, if you don't want to see that workout summary screen, you just want to loop right into the next workout, go ahead. And so, for biking, that's a little bit easier. For the stand-up workouts, I think most people feel after about, most of ours are about 15 to 25 minutes. And after that, they're ready to either take a break or kind of move on. We do allow people to save their progress though. So we've got like the macro level where you're going down a road. So say you're going down through Sedona, for example. And that ride is 30 miles, but in 20 minutes, you only finish 5 miles. Next time you come back into that ride, where you started before, and you can do your 20-minute workout from there. So, it encourages people to take breaks, and we actually encourage people to bounce around a lot, just to see different things and kind of, just have a little bit of a different experience depending on what they're doing. And then the intensity levels within our workouts, I think I saw in both of you guys' workouts also show the bar graph showing like, hey, this is going to be high intensity, low intensity. So you kind of go into the workout knowing, is this just going to be all hard stuff or is this going to be easier stuff?
So that's actually something that we don't exactly do within Realfit, and that was kind of intentional with the design approach early on, at least, in that a lot of these exercises sort of self-moderate to what you're capable of doing. So if you've got 30 seconds to do some push-ups, there's only so many push-ups you can do depending on your fitness level. But that said, the overall design of the workout can have an impact on the overall sort of sense of, wow, I'm really, kind of puffed from that. And we probably, should do a bit to sort of, set some expectations a bit more with that. But we've tried to be quite, non-prescriptive and let you kind of set your pace. But I think there's going to be interesting things to do to be responsive to knowing how you've done on previous iterations of the same workout, and knowing then a bit about you. We can then help give you as well pacing and guidance to either if you want to be able to keep up a certain pace, if you've set yourself some goals for being able to do so many reps on average, then there's opportunities there to sort of influence the pacing of things.
I think it's great to hear you guys talking about the options you have for the user and such. And it's really important, as we know. I mean, we have so many different types of people using VR. I mean, literally every, age group and gender and socioeconomic background. And one big thing that I've been looking at a lot is people with different physical or other challenges, like what is stopping them from being able to use VR. Because we have, for example, we already know that VR is being able to help people with PTSD. So that's an emotional thing that we can deal with. And we have studies have shown that people who are doing puzzle type games or logic games in VR, it's actually deterring the development of things like brain deterioration or Alzheimer's. And so like you increase your short-term memory when you use VR. And so there are a lot of really cool things like that. But for you guys, what I'm wondering is, in terms of your apps and VR and fitness and health and wellness, what kinds of accessibility options you already have or are you looking into? Because Michael and I chatted last week. I know that he has a lot of things going on with that. And just to throw this out there for our viewers who will be watching this, I mean, we have so many people that are coming into VR with one limb or vision problems or who are deaf, or when we're talking accessibility options, we literally mean there are so many different people with different requests. And I just love and really respect the fact that so many of these developers are trying to address that. And another thing is stuff like glucose monitoring, everything. So I want you guys to tell what you've worked on already or what you're working on or maybe plan to work on in the future in regards to that, please.
Yes, so I guess I go start. So since you mentioned the visual impairment thing, that's actually one of the first things I did was to think about how is this game playable for people with color blindness, or at least partial color blindness, because I'm in the boat that I'm slightly red-green colorblind, like probably a lot of men, and I'm always kind of, if someone asks me to differentiate quite similar colors, and I have problem with that, and then I always feel dumb, because I thought, why can't I see the difference? I mean, it usually has to do something with size. So if something gets small, it gets harder to discern. One thing is Oculus in their App Lab submission, they have this list of things you passed and things you didn't pass, and it's red and green. And I was looking at the list and was thinking like, okay, so I have to open every single item to see if I pass it or not, because I can't see it from the color. That's why I had this red-green for left and right. And then I had slight problems seeing it if they are far away, so I simply inverted it. So it's still red and green, but the inside-outside shapes are inverted. So if you have a black thing in the center, then you know it's the left. And if you have a colorful thing in the center, you know it's the right. No matter if you see it red or green, blue, red, or whatever. So that was the first thing, and I think that was kind of popular. Then the second thing is that there are a lot of people who can't do certain things. So we had to add things like you don't have to squat as far, so we have this knee safer option, which makes the squats shallower, so for people who can't do that. And also, the game tries to stay very engaging by constantly switching off the exercises, so you don't really get bored. But that has the downside that you have to sit down, get on the floor, stand up, and that's really hard to do if you have physical problems. So we had the option to actually increase that time, that people can have longer to accustom to this. And the latest thing we are adding away. It is already in there, but it's not available yet for the general user. Is this glucose monitoring? Because on the SideQuest Discord, the user mentioned that almost no game, or at least not officially, supports those connected glucose monitor systems. So people can actually set up their own web server where the glucose monitor uploads that stuff, and you can simply use a REST interface to query that. And for that, we have now a panel in there, so people who use that can see it above their heart rate, what their current glucose level is. Because apparently, I didn't know that, but apparently, if you don't register the alarm, the thing is giving you outside your VR headset, then it can get quite dangerous if your blood sugar gets too low, and it actually can be life-threatening. So we thought that should be something that should be in there, because if we expect people to do a lot of exercise without seeing the outside world, then we should give them the thing inside the headset. And yeah.
Let me pop in before the other two of you answer, and real quick, and just say something about some of these accessibility options. Yes, there are some things that people could do on their own to make it easier. Like, for example, if you're doing a workout and you need more transition time, you could press a pause button, let's say. But the problem with that is, if you're already stressed and you're already struggling and you already have issues that make things a little more difficult for you, then that really isn't what you want to do. When you have things like what Michael's talking about, when you actually add in where you can just select and say longer transition times, then that way you know when you're going into that game that you already have longer transition times, for example. And so, because I know I've played games and talked to people with cerebral palsy or Parkinson's and stuff, and it takes them longer to get where they need to be, or do what they need to do, or choose the options they need to choose. And so the last thing they need is for someone telling them, well, you can always just press this button or choose this option or whatever. Mm-hmm. If they can just set it up from the beginning as an option for that game, if you actually build that in as an accessibility feature, it's so much better. And so I really am so grateful that you're doing that, and any devs out there that are doing those sorts of things for any game, not just fitness apps, but any games. You really have no idea. That's one of the biggest things that we have requested, is just for people to realize that everybody isn't the same and can't do these things the same way. So thank you for that.
Yeah, like this is a fundamental kind of mindset that is like that I'm certainly trying to take with the approach to building Realfit, which is, we are all unique snowflakes, but we've all got different capabilities, needs, and even if it's short-term injuries, there are times where we might not have the full mobility that we're used to, but then it's early days for us, so we don't have all of the accessibility options and features that we would, hope to have as we, get more mature and listen to more and more people's feedback and figure out what we can do. But certainly, I mentioned that we've done things like looking at adding seated exercises, which we've made some progress on implementing. But yeah, adding things like voiceover sort of guidance, but also probably for things like the user interface to be able to give you voice narration if you're sort of somewhat hard of hearing. Well, not hard of hearing, but if your sight maybe is limited, to be able to read detailed like text. There's got to be lots of different opportunities for us in this space, and we're really going to be doing the best that we can to make Realfit as accessible as we possibly can.
Yeah, I think that accessibility is super important across the board, and it's it has to be prioritized early on, because as you're implementing features, you just have to kind of think about who's using this and how they're going to use it. And so for example, when we're adding our standing workouts, our default standing workout is basically just someone saying, just move, do whatever you want. So, and we hope to, in the long run, be able to take all of our workout movements that you have and let you kind of build your own blocks and say, hey, okay, well, I don't want to do squats, or I can't do squats. And so I'd like to just do these arm motions and maybe some side steps, things like that, as we go. A lot of our early accessibility stuff really had to do with VR, because we had so many new people coming in. We have so many comfort options to try and make sure that initial experience for you when you're getting into the game matches what you're looking for. Some people just want a simulator. They don't want to see dots on a path. So we took the dots out for some people, and then other people want to see the dots. Manual steering versus auto steering, right? So do you want to do squats and tilt your head so you go down the road, or do you want us to take you down the road? What's more comfortable for you? And for us, it's always an iterative process of we put it out there, and anytime someone comes back with any type of feedback of saying, hey, this makes this harder for me, we expand the durations of. Originally, our HIIT workouts were very aggressive. They were probably 20 seconds of a movement, 10 seconds of the next movement. And then we kind of expanded that based on feedback of people saying, hey, I'm just moving, like, I don't even know what I'm doing now. I'm going so quick. And we hope to be able to, same thing with Realfit, is as we mature and as we get more time with people, give them more flexibility to allow them to customize those workouts in whatever way that they want. I think the color blindness speaks to me in so many ways. I can't tell you how many games I've just could not play. I mean, I think that The Witness was one of them where I got to a point and I was like, this is a great game. I love this game. And now there are puzzles I just have to look up online because they are just color. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, there are a lot of games that, I review games and I write about games, and I love VR games and meeting the communities and the players and trying the different apps and stuff. And I actually have a hard time playing stand-only games. So there used to be a lot more. Fortunately, now they're adding more seated options to different games, which is great. But there are a lot of people who can't play standing. I can play standing for periods and do that now, so it's better. But when I first started, I couldn't stand for long periods. And I honestly, Robert, like the color blindness thing, it just brings back memories of the time when I was so frustrated because I couldn't stand for more than about 10 minutes at a time. And literally by the time I would get in the game and actually get it started, I would have to sit down. And then as soon as I did that, I wouldn't be able to play because there were no options for that. So I'm so grateful now that many of the developers are actually creating options specifically for that, just to switch it over. I love seeing that. I always try to mention that when I write reviews, because it's an important accessibility option. It's one of the main ones. I would say, honestly, I think probably the seated option and color options are probably the two most common that I've heard people ask about.
It's amazing how many games are made by men who are colorblind and they don't put colorblind options in.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they are just not realizing that other people actually do care and want that as well. I mean, surely they would realize that they would desire that, or maybe, I don't know why they're not doing that, but it's very common.
I think
Something
it comes down
that
to
we
it's hard
try
to
to
make
keep.
games. A lot of times.
I was just thinking out loud. With thinking of some of these accessibility options, sometimes it's nice to look for opportunities to not have it be some kind of option you go and find because you know that you need this because you're colorblind. But in some cases, you can find clever little design tricks that might mean that instead of having to, I mean, either you could perhaps design it so that the colors somehow magically work for every version of color blindness, which I think might be challenging because there are lots of different variations of color blindness, but also looking for ways to use symbols and alternative ways of discerning information without the reliance on color to have the meaning, so that you can keep the need to configure accommodations to a minimum, ideally.
Exactly.
Michael's idea of inverting them, I think, is like a good solution there, where you don't have to necessarily go in and check an option saying, "Hey, I'm colorblind," but it just works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the whole colorblind thing, I never had any awareness really. It just didn't come across my realm of things that I was very aware of until my middle son went to enroll, or whatever you call it, enlist, and that's the word I'm looking for, enlist for the Army National Guard. And they're going down through all the questions, and one of the questions was, are you colorblind? And my son said yes, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He was 17, and I said, you're not colorblind. He said, I think I am, Mommy. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so the recruiter said, well, we have to know that. I literally drove him right then to the eye doctor that second. And I was like, could you please test my child? Because he's saying he's colorblind and I don't know what he's talking about. He tested him, and the eye doctor came back out and he was like, he is so colorblind. He was like, he's most definitively colorblind. And I was like, oh my gosh, how could I have a child and almost adult
17
child? Yeah. And how could I not know this? Honestly, it made me feel so bad. So like, I literally felt so bad. And I think that, Robert, what you were saying a second ago about why are people, or one of you say, about making the games and why would you not go ahead and build that in? It just makes me wonder sometimes, like, how we're not more aware of that, because after that I started studying it and found out not only are a lot of people actually, they have that issue, but also my oldest daughter is colorblind.
Oh, that's
yes, I was just like, oh my gosh, what? This is just the strangest thing. And so
you're going to find out tomorrow that you're colorblind. You never realize.
No. My kids are always telling me I have issues, and I am not. I see bright colors in the world. They're like, well, when you say it that way, it sounds even worse.
Maybe you see more colors than us.
So it's really weird. I don't know if Michael had this experience too, but I didn't know I was colorblind for the longest time. I just thought I was dumb. Like, honestly, I just thought I was color dumb. And I finally, at some point, I was working like landscaping, and they were using a high visibility paint, and I was following a line, and then they came back and looked at my line, and it was all over the place, and I could only see it when it was in the sun, because it was just, and that's the only way I found out. And then, because you play games or something, and you're just like, wow, they made this really hard to see, but you don't know that it looks different to other people.
Well, as a family, I have 5 kids, and I can tell you, as a family, we got those charts, where it says the number in one color, and I made everybody do the charts, and I passed. So
good job.
Most of them. But it was kind of a fun thing. We always all joke about all our different little tweaks and twerks of people, because we all have different things about our personality or things we struggle with. And for us, it's just, it's just part of who you are, and it's part of the fun thing. But actually, that brings me to our last question real quick. We all do have unique things about ourselves and our own little worlds and our ecosystem. And so one thing that I personally love, and I talk about a lot in the VR area, is community. I think it's really important to just appreciate each individual and have positive, inclusive environments for everybody. Like, everybody I don't care if you're colorblind or not. It doesn't matter to me if you see rainbows every day. It's just like, we need to make everybody feel like they have a place in VR and we want them there. So tell me what you guys are doing before we close out. What are you doing with your communities? And if other people are watching this and interested in your game or app, would you encourage them to just get the app and do it? Or would you encourage them to become engaged with your community, and why?
So in our case, our community is mostly Discord at the moment. So we don't do that much Facebook stuff yet. We probably will change that because I'm kind of basically a one-man show and doing social media, doing development, doing community stuff. It's a bit much at once. But the whole idea of an open source project can only work with the community, because why are you doing it if you're not doing it for a certain community? And that's also why I actually continued working on it. So I wanted a community of fitness enthusiasts to build around it, not only around my game but also around all the other games. We did a lot of stuff with the Fitness Week on SideQuest, so we tried to get people motivated in other fitness things as well. And I think there are so many developers and games that are trying to do that for fitness and who are working together and trying to build something for the whole of the VR community. And I think that's what actually, even if we have small communities individually, if we can manage to get them to work together and integrate into each other, then it will be a benefit for all of us. And that's what we are trying to do by trying to get, like, the Winter Games or the Fitness Week or whatever, trying to have contests where people are trying out different stuff, are communicating with other, are actually competing against each other with squads or whatever. So.
Yeah, I mean, very similar from our point of view as well. We really want to be a part of the broader communities that are out there, besides just trying to foster an inclusive community for Realfit itself. But there have been things like the SideQuest Fitness Week that was run in January, that was a great opportunity to help as well connect the sort of indie dev community of people making some of these fitness applications, and that was a nice thing to be part of. And with things like Val running events like this, that have been a good opportunity for us to as well connect the community, the Realfit community, into a challenge and have some engagement around that. We're still it's still early days for Realfit in general, and our community is quite small, but it's been really nice seeing people get into a challenge and seeing people responding to climbing a leaderboard, and trying to sort of as well mediate that to try and help keep it as a positive, supportive kind of environment. And I think it's a really important aspect of building Realfit. From my point of view, I'd like to be a part of these positive, supportive communities around VR fitness.
So for us, community is, it's honestly what drives our game. We have a very active Facebook community, and as I mentioned before, people are posting every day the rides that they're doing. Several of our people stream their ride every single day, and we do have the unique thing here where we allow people to ride together. So whether or not you're doing standing workouts or riding on a bike, you can actually join someone on their workout and kind of have that active engagement with them. And so that it's really been really interesting to see our community members kind of meet up with each other in the game and then talk to each other on Facebook afterwards and be like, hey, that was a great ride. I really enjoyed that. Or, we've got a couple people who you hop into a ride and they've had so many people hop in that they just start explaining where they are and why they're there and why they've been on this ride and why it means something to them. And it's super cool. And then we've just recently had a bunch of people start signing up for virtual races. So they'll do like a virtual marathon or a virtual bike ride. And so we have a couple teams that were created. We just had a team that did a Tokyo to Osaka virtual ride as a team of four people. And they did 500 miles in 4 days or something like that. They were the first persons to finish the whole race. And they posted pictures the whole time. And so, we do have the unique thing of having the Google Earth images or the Google Street View images, and those work really well on streets and kind of really weird in mountains sometimes. But someone rode up Mount Fuji and took a bunch of pictures of the top, and that was part of their ride. And so I think that for me, fitness really comes down to community in a lot of ways too. The things that keep you going, you have to be a very special person to have no encouragement and work out every single day. Most people find that having a workout buddy or a partner or somewhere to post scores or somewhere to just chat about it really, really helps you get going and keep your routine. And so I think all of the VR communities kind of forming around fitness really, really help that. And you'll see it in the major, just the Quest groups too, all the time. And the VR fitness, the VR over 40 group is always posting about, hey, how can I find some good way to like do a little bit of a workout? And people post their routine. Sometimes it's VZFIT one day, Supernatural the next day, FitXR, VRWorkout, whatever they're doing each day. And they just try and mix it up. And I think that's really, really great. And it's great if you play our game. I love that. Wonderful. But I'm just inspired by these people who are using VR in a way that like helps them lose weight and helps them be more fit and more healthy. Because it's very contrary to the concept of the static image that people have of video gamers or people who put a VR headset and never leave the house. And some of us live in cold weather, so it's really nice not to have to leave the house sometimes to work out.
I always tell everybody when I describe virtual reality in terms of my writing and in relation to VR fitness or using it for health and wellness fitness types of stuff, I say virtual reality is the perfect combination of technology and physicality, because you have the technology there that you're using as a tool, but then which I think I have respect for traditional gaming now, and I do think there's skill involved and strategy and stuff. There are a lot of good things, teamwork, things like that. But VR adds in that component of physicality that wasn't possible before. And you're exactly right. Not only is it a matter of there are places where people have, they're in cold weather, or they can't get outside, or maybe they have other reasons that they need to exercise in their home. What you're doing is incredibly important. You're providing a tool. And as all of us have seen over the past year, sometimes you literally are stuck at home and can't go anywhere. And so I think that it's one of those things that it's an amazing blessing to people. And one thing for me personally that I've really enjoyed over the past few years is seeing how it is a community. We are all part of this greater community where, man, I will promote your game all day and help you and tell people about you and stuff. But more importantly, it's about the overall message that we all can work together to help people improve their lives. So I really like the fact that you guys all have mentioned that as well. It's not about just one particular game or app. It's about overall what we're achieving. So thank you all for having that great attitude and for being here today to answer questions. And I wish you the best success for each of your games. And let us know if you need anything. We're all out here to support you, and we think you're doing a fantastic job. So thanks a lot for coming to the panel. We appreciate everybody who showed up and the others. This will be on YouTube after today. And then our next panel for those who are here will be actually about VR communities. So this is a great segue into that. So thank you guys very much.
Excellent.
And have a great
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Sonya.